Hey guys, All in Crypto here and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. In this video, we're going to be taking another look at VeChain. The last time we spoke about VeChain, when we did an actual review of the project, I think VeChain was under 1 cent. It is today currently sat around about 9 cents. And has performed significantly well over sort of the past 3 months. I think since the start of the year, it's gone up nearly 8x. And the last time I spoke about VeChain, I was really talking about the fact that I was actively accumulating it. And, you know, that's why I thought I'd kind of make this video to touch base on where I'm at with VeChain. And I really want to make the focus of this video about why VeChain is actually valuable. A lot of people get into VeChain and they really have no idea where its value comes from. And they certainly don't know what the potential value of VeChain could perhaps be. In this video, we're going to cover all that. And like I say, it's been a while since we covered it. I've shouted it out in a number of altcoin, my sort of altcoin picks, altcoins that I think are going to do very well. VeChain has performed very well today. And, you know, I am still accumulating VeChain, however, not on a dollar cost average basis anymore like I have previously doing, or a Great British Pound basis as I'm from the UK. I'm essentially waiting for pullbacks to happen in Bitcoin, in VeChain. You are going to have pullbacks along the way in this bull run. For those of you who don't know, a lot of you know and who have been here for a while, that I follow the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory. And essentially, I think that 2021 is going to play out in a similar way to either 2017 or prior to that 2013. The Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory essentially dictates that on the last year of the 4-year cycle, you have this sort of parabolic 2017-esque bull market where everything goes to the roof, everything goes crazy, just before we have that kind of blow off top. So in this video, we're going to be covering exactly, what VeChain is, what VeChain's use is, and why it is valuable. And like I say, I am not accumulating it on a dollar cost average basis. I'm essentially accumulating it in a more of a I'm waiting for dips, buy the dip kind of strategy when it comes to VeChain. So VeChain, of course, we'll touch on what VeChain is. We'll touch on the mechanics of VeChain a little bit. This isn't a technical video. This is essentially about why VeChain is so valuable. And, you know, one thing I want to start off by saying is, and again, for those of you who've been subscribed, you'll know this, is I believe blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies are going to be disruptive or akin to the disruptive nature of the internet. When the internet first came out, nobody really understood the ramifications that the implementation of the internet had. Today, most people on planet Earth use the internet in some form or another, whether they know it or not, whether it's a system that they use that's connected to the internet, whether it's their cell phone, whether it's, you know, who knows what, whether it's an Apple Watch. The internet is essentially integrated into every kind of facet of society. And I've said on numerous times on this channel that blockchain technology is that next layer to the internet. It is going to be implemented in a similar way that the internet is. It's going to be the backbone of everything. And the reason being is it is far more sufficient. Blockchain technology and a blockchain and using a blockchain is far more sufficient than our typical kind of centralized one point of failure systems that we currently use, even in the banking system. So it's not just finance that blockchain technology is revolutionizing. It is things such as supply chain. And that is really VeChain's main goal. They want to be the supply chain blockchain. What do I mean by that? Essentially, VeChain want to enable you So why is it so important to be able to authenticate where your good or service has come from, where your product has come from? Now, we'll touch on the problem first, and we'll touch on VeChain and the problem that VeChain is essentially solving, how it is addressing it, and this is really where VeChain's value comes from. I think you could, in the future, absolutely see a $1 VeChain. Whether it happens this cycle or the next, in my opinion, it's inevitable if they achieve the goals that they have set out to. Now, VeChain essentially, why would you want to authenticate, a product? Well, we all know about counterfeits, and a lot of you out there are going, well, counterfeits, you know, probably quite a few of you out there with some counterfeit Armanis on right now thinking, I don't really see a problem with counterfeits. And I can sort of see when it comes to clothing where you perhaps might be coming from. But the real issue with counterfeits is when we are talking about things like medicine, food. I watched this whole documentary about a whole industry that has derived from a counterfeit industry that has derived from faking Italian wines, Italian cheeses. Very, very fascinating. I didn't quite realize the scope of counterfeit goods until I looked into VeChain. And that is essentially why VeChain is going to be so big, because they reckon that 3.3% of all world trade is counterfeit. So trade in fake goods is now 3.3% of world trade and rising. And like I say, when we think about clothing, when we think about perhaps footwear, we don't really, in a lot of cases, equate an issue to it. We just say, hey, look, it's a kind of cheaper version of the designer brands that are ridiculously expensive anyway. What's the harm? Well, the issue isn't, even though clothing, footwear, clothing, leather goods are essentially the largest part of the counterfeit goods market. You also have things like electrical equipment, watches, medical equipment, perfumes and cosmetics, toys, jewelry, and pharmaceuticals. Would you want to take a counterfeit pharmaceutical? I would hope not. Would you want to take would you feel safe leaving a counterfeit electronic good that have? And the problem with the counterfeit side of things is essentially they have more risk. They don't have the kind of safety standards that we have. In perhaps the United Kingdom, a lot of counterfeits aren't made in the UK; they're made abroad. Certainly, when it comes to a lot of these sort of topics that we're talking about, and because they're counterfeit and kind of illegal anyway, they're not necessarily going to adhere to the rules and regulations that electronic goods need, pharmaceuticals need, whether it's safety standards or hygiene. So you can really see where counterfeit goods become an issue. And there's been lots of cases of people eating food that has been counterfeited and then becoming very ill. Pharmaceuticals have led to death in a number of cases where people have taken fake pharmaceuticals or counterfeit pharmaceuticals and died as a result of it, or medical equipment, or even things like toys that perhaps aren't engineered in the correct way and that are counterfeit and done cheaply to kind of sell on for a cheaper kind of price. There are real issues surrounding the counterfeit goods market, and like I say, I can agree with some of you when you say, hey, look, well, there's no harm in buying a t-shirt that says Dolce and Gerpak or something, or whatever. There's no issue with that. And I can kind of see that it might be a little bit harmless, but it's really these other things like pharmaceuticals, toys, perfume. There's lots of cases, I was looking into it, and there's lots of cases of people using perfume and their skin would end up rashy and all sorts. So essentially VeChain, that's enough of me rattling on about the problem that VeChain is essentially trying to solve, and hopefully I have amplified why that is such an issue. VeChain is essentially looking to solve that problem, and how it does that is it uses blockchain technology as its base to verify essentially the origin of these products. So, for example, let's take a Rolex watch. If you wanted to be able to verify your Rolex watch, VeChain would essentially give that watch a VeChain sort of in VeChain's database system, a code essentially, so that you would then be able to scan that code, whether you do it with your phone, whether you type that code in into like a VeChain platform. And essentially what it would do is it would show you the journey that watch essentially has made to get to the end user. For you to buy that watch, you're at a shop, you want to buy this nice Rolex watch, you scan it and it will go, yep, due to the blockchain, we've validated the blockchain and it essentially came up with the fact that this indeed is a real Rolex watch and it can't be tampered with. There are systems sort of in place already that do this, but because they are centralized, there are faults that can be found in them. Because blockchain, and this is decentralized ledger technology, it cannot be counterfeited. The same way you cannot double spend a Bitcoin, you cannot put false data and false representations into the system so that when you scan it, even if it wasn't a real Rolex, you could say it was. It doesn't work like that. Because it is cross-referenced on the ledger, you cannot essentially counterfeit the data. So I hope, I'm trying to keep this as untechnical as possible, but what I'm trying to really highlight is the fact that, if it's 3.3% of world trade, I mean, we're talking trillions of dollars here, and they reckon, I think the counterfeit goods market back in 2018 was round about $1.7 trillion. A lot of money, and that's only going to grow year on year on year. It doesn't just apply to the counterfeits goods market. It actually applies to genuine goods as well. So some of you might be thinking, oh, well, the counterfeits goods market, it's only 3.3% of trade. VeChain can actually apply itself and the technology behind VeChain and tackle anything. So you go to your local supermarket, there's a chicken sat there. You want to know that that chicken has been, organically farmed, is free range, hasn't been battery farmed. You will scan with your phone the VeChain backed barcode, and essentially it will give you the origins of that chicken. So that chicken grew up in Spain somewhere, and at this age it was put down, or it was slaughtered in order to be harvested for food, and then at this point it was cleaned, and then at this point it was, I don't know the life cycle of what a kind of chicken that ends up on your shelf necessarily is, but I hope you're getting the idea. This is really where VeChain's value comes, and price, and this is going to sound absolutely crazy, price doesn't always dictate the value of something, the true value of something. When we equate things in dollars and we equate things in monetary terms, all you're really doing is that's one metric of value that you're applying to it. The potential for VeChain's price is absolutely astronomical, especially if you see a big supermarket like Walmart, or in America or in the UK something like Tesco's adopt VeChain and say, hey, what we want to do is essentially implement this technology. We're going to go to VeChain and we're going to run it, and that you need the VeChain token to actually operate it. We're not going to go into the tokenomics of this. I've made a prior video on that sort of covered the tokenomics in more detail. You can stake VeChain. You get this thing called VeThor. VeThor is like the energy, so it's kind of like the gas in comparison with VeChain. VET is their sort of VeChain's native token. That was originally made on Ethereum. VeThor is essentially their own blockchain, but we're not going to go into that in this video. It kind of works on a proof of authority consensus, which essentially is similar to proof of stake, very similar to proof of stake, and you would need to implement VET in order to run this system. So you can see where the token's sort of value comes from. And if a big company, let's say, decides to onboard this technology, which I actually think is an inevitability, imagine the ramifications in terms of the price of VET, the VET token, and of course VeThor. It's huge, and we've only spoke about one. Like I say, with the internet, people didn't realize all the use cases for it. There are more use cases for this. A lot of big companies, when we talk about big companies, like we talk about Walmart and stuff like that, they actually lose a significant, things go missing, staff might steal something, etc., etc. This would eradicate that, because you could essentially, you could address the point of failure. Whereas in a centralized system, it's a lot of it's quite a burden for one centralized, sort of database. Because of it being distributed and ran on blockchain, it's decentralized, the load is shared, and it's significantly easier to pinpoint that point of failure. I hope this isn't complicated or hurting some of your heads, but essentially what you need to know is that VeChain is essentially tackling the counterfeit goods market, and it's essentially going after the supply chain kind of market, which is going to be absolutely huge in my opinion. It's not just tackling counterfeit goods. That will be a byproduct of its use, and we've shown you that the counterfeit goods market is huge, and that the implementation of this could be, could absolutely change the game, and I think it will. I said at the start, blockchain technology is going to revolutionize the world, not just the financial, but the overall world, and I mean that. So when we talk about VeChain's price, I mean the potential really for VeChain is in some respects limitless. As the world grows, as the economy grows, and if this technology does get implemented and adopted, it will just continue to grow year on year on year. And that is why I'm in VeChain. And that is why, yes, I'm not dollar cost averaging into VeChain anymore, because it's done essentially an 8x since the start of the year. Just under an 8x since the start of the year. I am going to be looking at any dips, and certainly if after this year we enter into a bear market, if we continue to follow the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory closely, I will then continue to accumulate VeChain, because VeChain is one of those longer term holds for me. Yes, I will take some profits at the end of the year on my earlier bags, but my overall agenda for VeChain is to accumulate this token, to stake it. You get VeThor, you get VeChain Thor for staking VeChain or VET. But like I say, we're not going to go into the tokenomics. I just want to emphasize to you guys why VeChain is an actual valuable cryptocurrency. A lot of cryptos out there, some of them in the top 50 that really have no use case as far as I'm concerned. They're a mimic of another project. There's a lot of hype going on there. Something like VeChain has real use case and a potential to be adopted globally. And that is really all I have for you in this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope this has drilled back to some of you, what VeChain's value is derived from. Could you see a dollar VeChain in this cycle? Perhaps. It's only essentially a 10x. I mean, I still think there's trillions of dollars to flow into the overall crypto market. Could a project like VeChain that's 20th in terms of market cap today capture a significant chunk of that? Absolutely, it could. A 10x would give us around about a $57 billion dollar VeChain. It is possible. However, I will be taking profits significantly before that. My cash out plans are the same for pretty much most things. I have price targets that I'll cash out a certain amount of my portfolio at, and so on and so forth. But we're not going to get into that. This was a video about VeChain and why VeChain is so valuable. And I hope that I have hopefully educated and given you some useful information on the subject. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you've enjoyed this video, a like is appreciated. Get commenting. Let me know your thoughts on VeChain. Are you big on VeChain? Are you going to hold it indefinitely? What's your plan with VeChain? And that is really all I have for you in this video. So get subscribed. We are one of the fastest growing YouTube channels out there. And the reason being is because we're one of the realest. We aren't just repeating information. We are coming up with our own analysis and we're applying it to the market, and we have been relatively spot on so far. We have made mistakes, however, we wouldn't be human if we didn't do that. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I look forward to seeing you all in my next YouTube video. And a quick hello to all my new subscribers. I see you, it is appreciated, and keep the good feedback coming. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next YouTube video.